There's a guy over there that just started mowing his lawn, and I thought to myself, damn, he's going to ruin my audio quality. But he actually provides me a good example of what I want to talk to you guys about today. He is external to me. He's not inside of me. He can't affect me inside, and he shouldn't be able to. And he may seem like he's initially a bad thing for me because he might be affecting my video quality here. But actually, things that are external are neither good nor bad. And while it might seem bad to me that he's out there adding extra noise in the background, he's actually making the neighborhood look more beautiful. And if he didn't exist, there might be an eyesore over there of tall grass every time I'm driving by it, and the neighborhood wouldn't look as pretty. And so he provides me a good example of how things that are external to our mind are neither good nor bad. Take the lottery, for example. Who doesn't want to win the lottery? Everybody wants to win the lottery. It's like the greatest thing in the world, right? Not quite. Many people have actually had their lives ruined from winning the lottery. Their families destroyed from greed, turning on one another because of it. They end up going bankrupt, and it ends up being the worst thing that ever happened to them. And things that look really bad can end up being the greatest things for us. Like, for example, my addiction in the past. While it seemed to be such a bad thing, it might end up being a really good thing, because now I'm making these videos. I may end up helping a lot of people with their sobriety. So the point is, things that are external to us are neither good nor bad. Let's take one more example. Let's say that you're supposed to inherit a bunch of wealth, and your father decides to give it to your siblings instead, and not you. Well, don't let that affect you internally, because it's external to you. That money you were meant to receive, it's neither good nor bad. What's good or bad is what's inside of us. And don't let that situation affect you internally or how you react to it. Make sure that you keep your decency. Him not giving you the money, that's not good, or that's not a bad thing. What would be bad is if you gave up your decency by getting in a squabble with your siblings and severing your relationship with them. That would be bad. You could maybe even use this as a good opportunity to develop a stronger relationship with your family. It reminds me of this old Chinese fable. There was an ancient farmer, and he had a horse, and the horse ran away. And the farmer's neighbor said, "Oh man, that sucks. Your horse just ran away." And the farmer said, "Well, it doesn't suck. It's neither good nor bad." The horse came back the next day, and with it, it brought along a second horse. And the neighbor's like, "Wow, you were right. It ended up being a good thing. You got two horses now." And the farmer said, "Well, it's neither good nor bad." The next day, he went on a ride with his son, because the son can now come along on the second horse, and the son breaks his leg because he falls off the horse. The son's whining about it and crying. And the farmer says, "Look, son, this is neither good nor bad." At this point, everybody thinks the farmer's crazy. The next day, there's a draft because a war breaks out. All the young men have to go to war. And it turns out that the son doesn't have to go to war, and his life is saved because of it. And you see, the point of the farmer, that things that are external are neither good nor bad, that is indeed very true. But there's one exception to that, and that's the things that make us addicted, especially drugs and alcohol. And the reason that those things are bad, and they're so bad, is because they affect us on the inside. What's inside of us and what's in that space in our mind of the things that we actually can control and make choices over, we call that the sphere of choice, our sphere of choice, because it's like a sphere, it's an area inside of us of the things that we have control over. It includes our opinions, our decisions, our judgments, our emotions. It includes our virtues and our vices as well. Those are the things that we have control over. And that's why we call it our sphere of choice, because we can also make decisions and choices about those things. But drugs and alcohol, even though they're external to us, they can affect us on the inside, because when you're in the grips of an addiction, suddenly you're not able to think clearly. Your decisions are being pulled. You're being pulled like a puppet on strings by the thing that you're addicted to. And you're not really able to make decisions on your own. You're sort of getting the decisions made for you by your addiction. There may be some clear thoughts in there, but it's surrounded by the whispers of the drugs and the alcohol, pulling you in the direction of what will get you back to getting another fix. Now, that affects our choices, and choices are the number one thing we have, because choices, that is what leads us to success. It's the decisions in our life that we make. And choices can lead to the greatest things, but it can also lead us to jumping off a bridge or doing the worst things possible. And right now, the worst things that you can do is to go back to that addiction that you have, because drugs are awful and they affect you internally and affect what's inside of you. I want to talk next a little bit about human nature. Are humans good or are they bad? The reason I'm bringing this up is because the Stoics, they often talk about how it's important to be in line with human nature. And so I always thought about that. Well, are humans naturally good or are they bad? What are the Stoics talking about? Well, take a look at children. Children, they'll fight over the tiniest things. They'll steal things from one another. They'll punch one another and push one another. They'll cry. They have no emotional control. They act almost like animals. And humans, we're different from animals because we have something called the cerebral cortex, which is the very outer layer of our mind, of our brain, I should say. It's that, you know how our brains are, they've got these grooves in them. Well, those grooves are there to make the surface area bigger because the very outside layer is called the cerebral cortex, and it allows us to reason and to think logically. And that's what separates us from animals. And so while humans are born bad, it is our human nature to develop and mature and to develop our cerebral cortex and start to think logically about things and separate ourselves from that animal behavior that we were born with and improve ourselves over time. That's human nature. That's what makes us human, is this ability to develop virtues and to improve ourselves. That's what turns us into the wise and amazing characters that we have the potential of being. When you look at the greatest men and women in civilization and in history, they weren't born that way. Those were people that worked on themselves day by day, improving their character, self-improvement, until they became who they were. And that is the human nature that they were meant to fulfill. And that's the human nature that you're meant to fulfill. And the first thing you need to do is to get rid of drugs and alcohol so they stop affecting you on the inside. Only then can you start to make progress. Now, it's okay if you fail. You know, how can you not fail sometimes? We're only human. The point is to improve ourselves and learn from our failures. And failing, it's almost expected in many ways, because you know how when you're in a supermarket and you're done buying your milk and your orange juice and your bread and your meat and chicken and all that stuff, and you get to the cashier area, and suddenly at the very end, you notice that there's all this like candy and bubble gum and snacks at the very end for you to take. All of life right now is like that for us. Look at our phones. We're constantly on our phones, and on social media, there are people and they're bragging about their chains and their cars and their beauty and their wealth. And when we listen to music, they're talking about drinking and drugging and vices and doing bad things and bragging about, again, like getting hot babes and buying expensive things. We're surrounded by this everywhere. Commercials are advertising alcohol. Even on like the highway, they're advertising alcohol, and that's like the worst place to advertise that because it affects drinking and driving. Anyway, the point is we're surrounded by this stuff, so it's okay to fail sometimes. But if you fail and you fall off the right path, you got to get back on it. And that's the most important thing. The important thing is that you continue to make progress. And that takes a lot of practice. And if you fall off the horse and if you relapse and you can't think clearly and you get stuck in a rut, do the best thing you can, which is call someone like your sponsor, someone who can think clearly for you, and use them to make the decisions for you, to help guide you in that situation so that you can get back on track, get back to clear thinking, and return to improving yourself and developing your stoicism and your character and becoming the person that you're meant to be. And with practice, you will do that. Think of like a sculptor working on marble. You will notice that they chisel that marble away to get to the beautiful art underneath. Or a carpenter working with wood. They will chisel that wood away to develop something beautiful. Well, we too have to work like that, except marble and wood isn't the material that we work on. So what's the material that we as Stoics, and if you didn't know, if you're this far in the video, you too are now a Stoic, we as Stoics have material to work on as well. And that material is our daily lives. And the tools we use to chisel that material is reasoning and thinking logically and virtue. And so the first things that you need to chip away is your addiction and your drugs and alcohol. Get rid of that and chisel that away so that you can begin the real progress of becoming who you're meant to be. And as Stoics, the material is the life around us that we work on to develop the art that we're working on. I promise you that if you continue to stay sober and work on yourself and continue to be in line with human nature, you will make tremendous progress. Because think about it, all these years of maybe you were smoking weed or maybe you were drinking after work, all these years you could have been doing things that were more productive. And you were maybe even robbing your family from the sober, real you this whole time. Over the years, that deficit you had because of the drinking and getting high all the time, even if it was just a 1% difference in the quality of life that you were developing, that would have compounded into just so much more that you would have had today. So you have to start today working on yourself and getting sober to get back on track. But you will get back on track because you can use the addiction that you've had to improve yourself and make yourself into someone who's been even better, than it had the addiction never been there in the first place. Inside of you, there is a fire. And if you let that fire be a tiny little candle, then even a little blow of wind will put that candle out. But if you have true determination and a strong fire to take advantage of the obstacles in your life, including your addiction, then no matter what you put in that fire, whether a whole tree falls into it, that fire will just consume it and burn even stronger. So I want you to consume all the obstacles in your way, starting with addiction, to burn even stronger and become a greater person than you ever could have. If you don't do that, then you will lose your freedom of will, because if you continue to go back to your addictions, then you're going to lose your ability to make decisions on your own. The addiction will be making the decisions for you, and you're going to lose your freedom of will. And that's just as bad as being insane, because you can't make decisions for yourself, just like a mad person. Now, the first thing I want you to do today is I want you to start thinking about the bad habits that you have, the vices that you have. We're going to be talking a lot about virtue and vice in future videos, but let's think about the vices that you have, starting with maybe drinking and smoking weed or using drugs. Take whatever bad vices you have and switch them with the contrary habit. That's the way you chisel away the bad things in your life. Think of like whatever's opposite of that. I have patients in my clinic that are alcoholics, and I'll ask them, what's the opposite of drinking? And they'll say, oh, it's not drinking. And I'll tell them that's not actually the true opposite. The opposite of being an alcoholic like yourself is going home and instead of drinking, you go to your cupboard, you open up where all the bottles are, you open the bottles, you walk them to the bathroom, and you dump all the alcohol out. That's the true opposite. And I want you to start thinking about what the opposite is of all your bad habits. Start by throwing away all the junk food, all the drugs, all the alcohol. Literally toss it away. Forget about how much it costs you to spend on that stuff. Start by throwing the stuff away and free yourself from that stuff being around you. And then start to look at your other habits. Do you sit around on the couch all day long? Maybe you should get up and go for a walk instead. Do you drink after work? Maybe you should read a book instead. Find a way to improve yourself. Are you on your phone at certain times in the day looking for sports to bet on? Maybe you should instead look at podcasts or social media pages where they talk about saving money and wise financial decisions. Look up a David Ramsey podcast instead. Do the opposite and find these contrary habits. That's how you chisel away the bad things in your life to develop a life that is just tremendously successful and brings a lot of happiness to you. If you can do that, even for just 10 days, switching your bad habits for the opposite good habits, people that will look at you like you were some kind of an animal before, some kind of an ape, they're going to look at you like you're some kind of God among men. How did you suddenly change yourself for the better this way? But it takes consistency and it takes a lot of hard work and dedication. And you have to dedicate your life to this kind of system and this program and these principles and Stoic philosophy to begin getting yourself sober. Stoic philosophy will help get you sober. But I also want to mention that getting sober will allow you to become more stoic as well. And while I'm teaching you Stoicism to get you sober, and I dream of that first person that's going to comment, Dr. Roman, you helped me get sober. I dream of that. But getting sober will also allow you to become an amazing Stoic person. And that is super important because suddenly you'll be someone who's just greater than anyone you could have ever imagined. You will have virtue, you will have happiness, you will have peace and tranquility inside of you. But these things they go together. Practicing Stoicism will help you fight the addiction, and fighting the addiction will make you turn into someone who you've never imagined was possible. Now, I just want to say one last thing at the end of this video. I know a lot of people at the end of such videos say, subscribe to my channel and like my video, blah, 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 blah. I don't actually care too much about that. It's external to me, and I'm going to get something out of this whether or not anybody watches these videos or not. But if you do like the video and if you do subscribe to the channel, subscribing might help you a lot, but the likes, they may help another addict see this video, and if you didn't like it, they would have never seen it. So the likes could potentially help people get sober and could even potentially save lives out there. So I just want you to keep that in mind for future videos. So anyway, I hope you all have a great day, and I wish you all the best. See you next time, next week, for another long form video then. Take care.